Good morning and welcome to the Rock Live. My name is Marika. I'm so glad that you've joined us today. What a beautiful day it is today, guys. The sun is out. It's amazing. It's warm. So welcome. And hey, I love seeing all the comments coming through on the chat, whatever it's called. See you guys watching. It's awesome. And if you haven't already, why don't you jump in and say hello and I don't know, let us know what your plans are for the week, for the day. I'm going to a birthday party. It's going to be fun. And yeah, let us know. It's great stuff. It's great. Love all the comments coming through, guys. And why not as well be thinking about who you can be inviting to church. Maybe that's like sending off the link to someone right now, or maybe it's sending it to someone during the week, or maybe it's inviting someone to our physical Sundays as well. I don't know, but let's be inviting people to church. Here at The Rock, we love to celebrate people. So we've been doing this thing called Legends of the Week. And today's legends, that's right, not just one, but two legends this week, are Troy and Amy. So woo! We love you, Troy and Amy. For those who don't know, Troy heads up our sound and AV stuff here in the building, and Amy has been involved in leading a life group, which is it's been pretty cool. So we love you guys. We thank you. We appreciate all the work that you guys have put into this and all the effort. So you're legends. All right. So we've been enjoying a new rhythm of church, although it's not really so new anymore. I guess we've been doing it for a while. We've been meeting online one week and then in person the next week. And we're going to continue to do that for the rest of the year. So if you get confused about dates at all, about where we are and what date, just make sure that you jump onto the website and you have a look there, because all the dates and where we are listed there. So no need to freak out, guys. If in doubt, check the website, all right? Sounds good? Thumbs up? Yep. Awesome. All right. So, guys, it is already October. How crazy isn't that? This year has just flown by, and before we know it, Christmas is going to be here, and I love Christmas. I love Christmas lights. Put your hands up if you love Christmas lights. I know I do. I love them with all my heart. And here at The Rock, we are wanting to deck our building out with lights. It's going to be awesome. So we're going to watch a little video of that Dylan's put together for us. So let's watch this.
Hey church, here at The Rock, we are passionate about shining a light in our community. And I want to let you know about the amazing opportunity we have this Christmas to do that literally. I know for me, when I was a kid, my favourite Christmas tradition was jumping in the car on the night of Christmas Eve with my family to check out all the Christmas lights in my community. And this Christmas, we want to do just that by making The Rock the #1 Christmas light destination in our community. Imagine if the church was the place where people wanted to visit this Christmas. We have an amazing opportunity this year and over the years to come to invest in shining a light in our community by presenting an amazing, high-quality, Jesus-focused light experience, reminding our community of the real reason for the season. But we need your help. To make this great vision come to life, we need $5,000 to change the look at this building this Christmas. And if you want to get involved and be generous and invest in the future of this initiative, all you have to do is head to www.therock.net.au/give and select Christmas lights as you do so. We have an amazing opportunity this Christmas, so why don't you join us in shining a light in our community and help us turn this into this.
How cool doesn't that look? So imagine that, but like bigger and even better. It's going to be cool. But for this to be a possibility, we really need your help. We need you guys to partner with us. So we want to raise $5,000 to be able to buy lights so that we can put on this outreach project. Because that's what it is. It's an outreach to our community to I guess, show them the story of Jesus in a creative way with lights, and it's going to be awesome. So we ask that you just have a think about what you can give to that. So you can jump onto our website and you can give there. There's like a little drop down thing that you can choose either our Christmas lights or you can choose our regular giving, which our regular giving goes towards, I guess, the upkeep of the building, bills, paying staff, and I guess running our programs and stuff. So yeah, so you can give to that too. And I was reading in Exodus 35, verse 22, it says, "Then all whose hearts moved them, both men and women, came and brought brooches, earrings or nose rings, signet rings and necklaces, all jewels in gold, everyone bringing an offering of gold to the Lord." And I love that. I love that the Israelites just kind of brought, they're like, "Oh, that's gold. Yep, we'll just take that. We'll give that to God." They just took whatever they had and they gave it to him to honor him and to thank him for what he'd done, and I guess for what he was going to do as well. So, and that's our invitation today too, to give what we can to God, to thank him for what he's done, for what he's doing and what he's going to do, and to honor him. So I just want to encourage you guys with that as we give today to, think about what you can give and do it with a thankful heart and to honor God. And the other thing that you can do on our website is to submit a prayer request. And, we love praying for you guys. And I'm pretty sure that everybody has something that they need prayer for, whether that's like for friends or whether it's for family or whether it's for them yourself, like, I don't know, maybe you need more patience in a situation, or you need wisdom in a situation, or maybe you need healing, or you know someone who needs healing, or maybe it's something else. I don't know. But we all have something that we need prayer for. So I just want to encourage you guys to jump on the website and submit a prayer request. It honestly takes like a couple of minutes tops. It's depends on how fast you type, but it shouldn't take that long. You just have to put your name in and your prayer request pretty much. So make sure you do that, guys. And I just saw on our live stream that it's Monique's birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday for tomorrow, Monique. That's very exciting. All right, so we're going to go into our conversation for this week. And this week we're talking about enlarging your soul through grief and loss. And we've got Pastor John and the wonderful Trix, who's a local woman from our community. And this is a really, really powerful conversation. It's very heart-wrenching. And it's a very heavy topic that surrounds a lot of, death of loved ones. So parents, just be mindful of your children. And if at all this stirs up anything for you, just make sure that you talk to someone about it, whether that's somebody here at church or whether that's a close friend or family member, or whether it's even seeking professional help. But just make sure that you don't keep it up inside, but that we talk about it. So we're going to first watch a little video about Horatio Spafford. I think that's how you say his name. And then we're going to go into our conversation. So enjoy.
Horatio Spafford was a well-known lawyer and businessman in Chicago in the 1860s, where he lived with his wife Anna and their 5 children. He had invested heavily in real estate along the shores of Lake Michigan. He was a prosperous man and a devout Christian. However, in 1870, a series of events began to turn Horatio's world upside down. That year, Horatio and Anna's only son died of scarlet fever at the tender age of only 4. A year later, while the Spaffords were still grieving the loss of their son, the Great Chicago Fire broke out and destroyed nearly every one of Horatio's investments. His entire life savings was gone. Aware of the toll these disasters had taken on his family, Horatio decided to take his wife and 4 daughters on a holiday to England, where they planned to accompany the famous evangelist D.L. Moody on his next crusade. However, just before they set sail, a last-minute business development forced Horatio to delay. Not wanting to ruin the family holiday, he persuaded his family to go on as planned, and he would follow along later. With this decided, Horatio stayed in Chicago while Anna and the girls boarded the French steamship Ville du Havre to set sail for England. But several days later, Horatio received devastating news. The Ville du Havre had been struck by an iron sailing vessel from England. The ship sank in only 12 minutes, claiming the lives of 226 passengers. It was the worst disaster in naval history until the sinking of the HMS Titanic 40 years later. The next day, he received a telegraph from Anna from Wales. It read these 6 words: "Survived alone. What should I do?" The Spaffords' 4 daughters were among those who perished. After hearing the terrible news, Horatio boarded the next ship out of New York to join his bereaved wife. During his voyage, the captain of the ship called him to the bridge. "A careful reckoning has been made," he said, "and I believe we are now passing the very place where the Ville du Havre sank." And it was there, while staring into the watery grave of his beloved daughters, that Horatio penned the words to the great hymn, "It is well with my soul."
Well, good morning, church. We are back here again today for an awesome service, and you might be able to see we have some amazing guests. We have our awesome senior pastor, the second half to the amazing woman, Louisa, but we got John De Bruin, yay! And we also, no worries, John. And we also have a really, really special guest today, and that is Trix. So welcome, Trix. Welcome to our church. Welcome to our online service. It's really great to have you here. This morning, we're going to have a pretty raw conversation, I'm expecting. We're talking about grief and loss, something that we've all experienced in life, and it doesn't really matter even how old you are. You experience grief and loss even from a young age. That obviously the severity changes, right? But we all go through it, and I've heard a little bit about your story, Trix, about some of the stuff that you've gone through because they've tied in with you, John, and I won't spoil too much of the stuff, but I would say I'm really looking forward to the conversation, not because I like talking about hard things, but what I'm hoping that will come out of today's conversation is great life lessons. And I hear things about you, Trix, and I've seen things, John, from you where grief and loss has produced faith and has produced these amazing qualities that I think can be really encouraging for people at home, because it's sometimes, I mean, as human beings, we're not very good at coping with loss and grief, but we can get really good at it, and we can get through it with the help of God. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to ask some questions. So we might kick off with you, John. I know there's probably a million different things you could talk about with grief and loss, but obviously there's a few stories today that we're going to really try to touch on. Do you want to kick us off with your rendition of that?
Yeah. So for me, I was 17-year-old. Robert, my friend, and Graham, brothers, they were my friends, and we were going to go out shooting.
And they were
One-
Trix's boys, right?
Yeah, they were Trix's sons. Yeah, we were going to go out shooting one Saturday morning, so I went to the newsagent and bought some bullets.
At a news agency.
The news agency, it's actually where the green grocery is now in Penguin.
Yeah,
That's where
right.
the news agency used to be. So I felt a bit nervous going there,
Yeah.
but I got my bullets. Robert sort of instructed me what to get because I didn't have a clue about any of that.
Right.
And yeah, drove to the farm at Loyalty where they lived, and yeah, we were going to go out shooting, and yeah, unfortunately, things didn't go well that day. Graham died, which was very, very tragic.
Yeah.
The whole story around that still is for me quite difficult to talk about. But the gun went off. I was standing next to Graham, and the bullet hit Graham. It could have hit me, but it didn't, and Graham was gone.
Yeah, crazy story. And I have heard you share about it before, John. And I used to give John a bit of a hard time because when I came to their family, the boys weren't allowed to have guns with their Legos, and I was like, what? That's so weird. Why can't you do that? And then I remember John telling me this story, and I remember thinking, well, that kind of makes sense. But just, I suppose, John, to bring some more clarity
Mm.
for the conversation, it was obviously a freak accident. It wasn't intentional.
Oh, no.
Yeah, freak accident. Robert sort of directed us to open the gate, and he swung the gun, and somehow the gun went off. It hit Graham. He fell down, and we thought he was joking at first. And what are you doing? Get up, blah blah blah. And he didn't. He didn't get up. And for me, you watch the movies, and when people get shot, there's blood. There was no blood at all. I lifted his jumper, and we looked, and all there was just a small bruise. Where his heart was, and I had to go and get help.
Yeah.
And Trix and her niece were walking in the paddock somewhere, I think. And I don't know what I said, but said there's been an accident. Graham's been shot.
Wow.
And then I came back to Robert and Graham, and there was Graham.
No life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks, John.
Robert was holding him and in his arms, and don't die. Yeah, tragic.
Yeah, I bet. Thanks, John. Thank you. I can't imagine, Trix, what that would be like as a mother. I'm only a fresh father myself, and I can't imagine.
Well, I didn't want to believe that he was gone.
I bet.
So I started, giving him CPR, and we tried till the ambulance came.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they took over, and somebody said to me, "Why did you do that?" And I said, "Well, I had to do something.
Of course, yeah.
You just don't give up."
No.
So, but the bullet went straight through his heart, and he didn't suffer. That's one good thing.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know what hit him.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it how old did you say that he was? 15?
15.
15. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so through that journey, obviously, of your son passing away, Trix, did you feel like that had a major impact on your faith?
No, I questioned God,
Mm.
Yeah, it was not real.
Yeah.
Don't believe it, do you?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Yeah.
So
Did you feel like it was a bit of a long process to come to grips with the accident?
Well, I never did the first 2 years because I was always scared that I'd heard of another family that lost two boys 2 years apart, and I always thought, I just hope, wait till the 2 years are passed and then we'll be right. But that didn't happen either, because within the 2 years, Robert had a motorboat accident
Yeah.
and he died instantly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And after that, I never liked Christmases or New Year when everybody was happy and saying Happy New Year, and you'd think, well, what's going to happen this year?
Wow.
You know, you just don't like the future.
Yeah.
But the only thing that I realised is both the boys went to a crusade, and they gave their lives to the Lord at that crusade.
Yeah.
And that was my only comfort.
Right. So you really had a hope and a faith in that you knew.
Well, I didn't have hope. I knew I was.
Yeah. Great.
You know.
Great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I mean, you kind of obviously, you just said then, Trix, that your other son not long after had a motorbike accident, which again is unbelievably sad. Do you want to share a little bit more about what happened with that?
Well, that was a bit more difficult for me because he ran into me with his motorbike.
Yeah.
And he was killed instantly. He had a mate on the back of his motorbike. Neither of them had helmets on because they went just round the corner to see about going on the potato harvester the next day. And they just thought I would quick hop on the motorbike. Yeah. And, he cut the corner and hit me.
Wow.
And by the time I got out of the car, he was gone.
Yeah.
He cut blood vessel in his neck and,
Wow.
So that was very difficult.
Oh, I can imagine. You know, we're talking about this topic of grief and loss. You can't. I can't think of many different circumstances where you could experience such a thing. But Trix, like as someone that sees you from the outside, I would say you seem like a really positive, friendly, vibrant person. And I know you said that you didn't like New Year's and Christmas and stuff like that, but obviously you've done some real internal work.
Oh yes.
Over the years of being able to deal with that, and I'm assuming that your faith has played a major role.
Yeah, the Lord has been there for us.
Yeah.
And like Penny, my daughter, said the other day, don't forget your family and friends who are there for you too.
For sure.
Altogether, God puts people in your path and to help you through this.
Yeah, that's
and
amazing.
I still had my husband we worked through it together.
Yeah, that's right. Like there's the whole other side. I mean, it's not just you grieving it, but you as a mother and a wife are then doing that together with your family. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Well, I might bump back to you, John. Like, I'm curious. You know, here you are, this young guy. You know, I don't know. You joke about, you know, going to church and falling asleep in the pews. So I'm assuming, you know, that that's the version of John in this time. And so here you are faced with such a tragic loss of, you know, one of your best friends and witnessing that. How did that affect your faith as a young person? And even now looking back, do you feel like that had an impact on your faith that you have today?
I probably didn't think about how it affected my faith at the time, but it was a very difficult thing, and me coping with that experience and seeing, you know, the whole thing, being part of that whole thing. Like you said about the Lego guns, you know, I confiscated Lego guns from our kids, and, you know, even motorbikes. To this day, I don't like motorbikes, and I freak out when you talk about getting a motorbike, Taylor.
I really want a Harley.
Because I just, you know, recently I was somewhere and, you know, they were clay, shooting clay pigeons, and I didn't want to be part of it because I still to this day do not like guns. But just for me, coping was pushing it away. Like I couldn't talk about it. I pushed it away. I ignored it. I could never talk about it. But all of that grief and all of that, it was still there.
Yeah.
And at, I don't know how many years, 12, 13 years later, we were actually, Lois and I were in a workshop, and the workshop was about helping people cope with grief. It was just a training session, and like for me, when the guy was talking, I all of a sudden, it was like if a dam bursted, like I just started crying uncontrollably because it was just all bottled up and locked up, and all of that grief, which I hadn't expressed previously, hadn't been able to express previously, just all welled up, and it was literally like a dam bursting. And out of that, out of that, God.
You came to us then, didn't you? We talked about it.
Yep.
Then.
Wow.
Because for me, like, that experience, like Robert had gone, and Robert couldn't talk about it, I couldn't talk about it, so Robert and I were the only ones that witnessed it, that were part of it, and I couldn't talk to anyone about it. I didn't feel I could talk to anyone about it. So when Robert was gone, it was actually worse because I sort of, not that it was a secret, but I felt that I couldn't talk to anyone about it.
Yeah,
and
I get that.
After that, I felt really strongly enough, God prompted me, God helped me, but I rang Trix and George up and I said, I'd like to come and talk to you one evening about what happened all those years ago. And that was...
And the good thing is we never talked at home. We always talked about the boys. Yeah. Even when it was just Graham gone, Robert would come home and say something. Then Robert came home one day and he was in the flat with Hank at the time. And he said, it's Mum, he said, I get a bit angry with my friends. He said, because every time I mention Graham's name and want to talk about him, all the other young people just clam up.
Right. Yeah.
And I said to Robert, that's because they don't know what to say. They think they're going to upset you.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, but I want to talk about him. I said, yeah, I know. And we did at home.
Yeah.
We did talk about him.
Wow. That's a great insight.
We've never stopped talking about the boys.
Yeah.
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 And that's why I think it was for you coming to us. For us, it was easier accepting you to come than for you to actually ask, could I come?
Yeah.
So did you have that similar experience, from people not... You were saying that you didn't want to talk about it, but did people ever try to talk to you about it?
I can't really remember whether people talked to me. I think it was sort of, it's what Trix said, like, as young people, we didn't really know how to deal with it because it was Graham was part of our youth group. We used to, like after church, we'd hang out together with Robert and Graham and others from church. So he was part of our, social network. Yeah. And I don't think we obviously had never been through anything like that before. Yeah. So talking about it wasn't something that we were prepared for or even... So, it wasn't part of the conversation. Yeah. And for me, like, my way of dealing with it was just ignoring the feelings, suppressing those feelings. Because, I mean, it had impacted me probably more than what I realised at the time and even more than what I realise today. Yeah. But my way of dealing with it was just, push it away, don't acknowledge it, don't just ignore it and it'll go away. But, what I found out all those years later, it didn't go away. It was just all bottled up inside of me, and it came out like that bursting dam.
Yeah. So in thinking about that though, John, do you think it would have been beneficial if you had some friends that said, hey, John, do you want to talk about that? Like, and I know you're saying you were trying to not talk about it. Like, it sounds like you were actively trying not to. But if you had people that sort of loved you and pushed in a little bit more, do you think that would have been helpful?
It probably, I think it would have been much, it would have been really helpful. I mean, today, if something like this happens to someone, there would be, people would encourage people to have counselling and to actually have someone help you deal with something like that. But those days there was nothing.
It wasn't like that.
Yeah, and my parents didn't really talk about it.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things that we didn't go there.
Yeah.
And as a result, I just pushed it away.
Yeah.
I just pushed it away.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point that you made, Trix, about how young people didn't want to talk to your other son about it, and he wanted to.
Yeah.
And I find that really interesting, because I think there is this yearning inside us when we do go through grief and loss, that together, that's right. And you said it before, it wasn't just you, it was your family, and you had these great friends that helped you pull through this thing. And so I think that's a great lesson to even just learn from this conversation, that when we do go through grief and loss, to try to do it by ourselves is well, I mean, you've got the pudding here. It is hard. It is really, really hard. And so it's so important to share our burdens and our struggles. And obviously when we bring faith into it, that changes a whole bunch of things as well. But on the topic of faith, Trix, do you feel like through this season, or seasons, I should say, of trial and heartache, did you learn about God or even learn about yourself?
Oh yes, you can't stand on your own 2 feet. You've got to, and I did question God. I asked him why, and I felt guilty about that till I read an article in Tyrrell and Sword, which was our church magazine, and it said lots of Christians feel guilty about asking God, why has this happened to me? And we don't need to feel guilty, because Jesus asked that on the cross. He asked his Father, why have you forsaken me?
Yes.
And that's how you feel, forsaken. And even now, John said, something about push it away, but it never goes away.
Yeah.
Even now, after 38 years, it's still there.
Yeah.
And talking about it feels like it happened yesterday.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like, Trix, you ever got an answer from God?
Not. No, or maybe through books and literature, but not. That I say no. God talk to me, but God did lead me to go and work with women and children from domestic violence, because I wanted to help other people.
Wow.
Because I knew God had put me through this, not for my own benefit, I mean, it wasn't a benefit, it was a hardship, but I could help other people. Yeah,
that's right. It is really hard to, I think, correlate pain and grief with the will of God. And we know it says in Romans that God can turn all things around for those who love him. So we know he can use it. I mean, you're talking about it just now, but it's not that he ever does it on purpose. He doesn't think, I'm going to get up this morning and make someone's life hard. No. But what he can do is use it for good. And I think that, in my experience, and it kind of sounds like in yours, and maybe, John, this might spark an idea, but often it can change your perspective, and you can see God using it for the good within our life. So it's a powerful thing.
For John, haven't you? I mean, being in this church and helping other people, you can relate to pain and grief and going through difficult times.
Yeah,
like a lot of young people do these days.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, we said at the start, pain and grief is not as real for us all, and obviously we can put it on a scale of what's worse and not. But to each individual, it feels real, doesn't it? John, in reflection, do you feel like you learnt different things about God or yourself through this process?
Just like as Trix was talking before, I remember quite clearly, Trix's dad, Mr. Van Wyk, he'd actually lost 3 grandsons in a 3-year period.
Another one on a motorbike in Hobart.
Yeah, another one in a motorbike.
Wow.
And he was a man of faith. He was like a really great role model, sort of seeing him growing up. But, he sort of said, why? He questioned God, like, why did God not take me away? I've lived a full life, and that's, just seeing him respond the way he did. You know, he had every reason to be angry with God, but he continued to have, you know, faith, love God, and that really ministered to me and spoke to me at the time, and still hadn't really thought about it. You know, 38 years. It's
George was a great man of faith too, wasn't he?
So yeah, and seeing Trix and George, how they'd lived life after that event, and again, like, every reason to be bitter, but to not let that event affect their faith and their relationship with God.
Yeah.
That, you know, to me has been a big and powerful lesson and witness to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great point, Trix. Like, how did you do that? How did you? I mean, it's probably a question that you probably can't even answer. But how do you let or not let life control you? Because it often, in pain and sorrow, can feel like.
Well, when I lost my daughter a year and a half ago, that was the third child I buried. Then that was very, very difficult. Yeah. And I did question God. You know, I said, why don't you take me away from all this pain? I was a mess. And then not having a husband to help you. Yeah. Or to go through it together.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It sounds like, again, I know a little bit about your story just in preparing for this, but so you lost 3 of your children and then also your husband as well.
Yeah.
And
5 years ago, George passed away.
Yeah.
But he was ready to go.
Yeah.
He had Parkinson's. I mean, he just wanted to go. And the last thing he said to me, I want to go home. I had to give him permission to go home.
But still hard.
Oh, yeah.
Really hard. Yeah. And I can't imagine what that sorrow would be. But I said it before and I'll say it again, Trix, you still seem like you carry this presence about you that isn't, like John said, you don't walk around bitter.
No.
You're not walking around annoyed at life. And I think that, I mean...
I have a lot of things to be thankful for.
Yeah, wow.
I have 2 great daughters who I have a great relationship with, and grandchildren who are all great kids. Yeah. And, and I have friends and church family and my health. You know, I have to be so thankful. I mean, I'm 79 and I'm still able to do really everything I want to do. A bit slower, maybe, but I can. And I have a lot to be thankful for. Yeah, and that's what I see in God's grace.
Great. Yeah. So thankfulness is one of the keys.
Oh yeah, you have to look, like Louise and I said the other day. You look at the glass half full, not half empty. Yeah. And every day you get up and say thank you, God, for another day.
And did you feel like that was a real part of the challenge throughout all these trials, is having that perspective of a glass half full?
Well, there's one stage after my husband passed away, I didn't. I had to go to a psychologist. The doctor said, you're not coping, you're going to go and talk to somebody. Yeah. And he made it very clear to me while I was so down the dumps. He said, every time you lose somebody in the family, you go through the past pains again, and it all comes
back
again. Yeah. You know, so you relive all that pain, and it just gets more and more. Yeah. Yeah. So and then I understood why. Wow. But it's with the church help and God's help. Yeah. And singing for me is, I don't sing very well, but I love singing. Great. And it's my expression of my faith.
Yeah. Wow. So I know it's been a great conversation. I have so many questions for both of you guys, and I'm sure I will get opportunities to ask one day. But like in the concept of what we're talking about, grief and loss, what are some things that maybe you would like to share with the people that are watching at home and online with dealing with it and pushing through it? Like, what I suppose, what are the last words that you'd like to leave? And maybe we'll start off with you, John.
I think to acknowledge it yourself, like for me, I suppressed it, I pushed it back, but it would have been much more helpful for me to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And like what we talked about, for those around you to also acknowledge it, like because after Graham had died, we didn't stop hanging out as youth. Like we had lots of playing billiards at our place. We were doing stuff together all the time. So there was lots of opportunities to actually talk about it.
Yeah.
And for me and for Robert to be able to process it in an environment where loved ones, friends, people that you're close with, but that didn't happen. So if I think one thing that I've sort of learned from that is acknowledge it, have those around you acknowledge it, and actually talk about it and process it together. And I think it would have been helpful. I didn't actually know that that Robert wanted to talk about it. I think that would have been. It certainly would have helped me.
Well, that's for me. That's one of the lessons that I feel like I've learnt the most today is that going through grief and loss, when other people are going through it, not talking about it is almost as damaging as talking about it. And of course, you've got to pick your times and your moments and stuff like that. But thank you, John. Thank you for your brave sharing. And I know it's obviously a really hard topic, and I really appreciate that. What about you, Trix? Some final encouragement for people that are watching. I mean, again, I feel like I'm pumping you up, but you're amazing. I've not met someone that has had to deal with so much loss and still can sit there and say God is good and have a smile on their face.
One thing I like to tell people, don't ever ask people that have lost a loved one, when do you get over it? You don't get over it.
Yeah.
You learn to live with it.
Yeah.
And the pain gets better.
Yeah.
But like I said, like now you bring it up and it's like it was just the other day. Yeah. But don't ever expect people to say they're over it,
right?
Because you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. The journey is about just learning to
accept
trust it, which is what
to trust
John's
God
saying.
that this happened for a reason.
Yeah.
And to do what you can.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Trix, for sharing. Thank you for your brave heart and your spirit to be that glass half full. It really is inspirational, and I hope and pray that people at home can draw some inspiration from this, because like I said, we all face trials in life. They're not going anywhere, but learning to deal with it and push through and include God in this process, I think is obviously the most important thing to moving through. So thank you, guys. Church, I hope you feel encouraged, compassionate. You'll feel sad. Of course you'll feel sad, but we can learn through grief in our own life, and we can learn through grief in other people's life. And so I encourage you, as you watch this, maybe sit there and think about some of the stuff that either you've gone through or people in your life, and prayerfully consider what it could look like to be a great friend to someone else, or to share with someone else of what you're going through. Because if anything, what we've learnt today is trying to do grief and loss by yourself is really hard and definitely not the best way to cope with it. But have a great afternoon, church. We love you, and we can't wait to be with you next week.
And seas that are shaken and stirred can be calmed and broken for my regard. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, it is well. And through it all, my eyes are on you, and it is well with me. be here for me to not believe. Even when my eyes can't see. And this mountain that's in front of me will be thrown into the midst of the sea. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, it is well. And through it all, my eyes are on you, and it is well. It is well. So let go, my soul, and trust in Him. The waves and wind still know His name. So let go, my soul, and trust in Him. The waves and wind still know His name. So let go, my soul, and trust in Him. The waves and wind still know His name. The waves and wind still know His name. And it is well with my soul. Sing it out. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. Sing it out. It is well. Oh, it is well. It is well with my soul because of who you are, Lord. Oh, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. Sing it out. It is well. It is well. It is And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, it is well, Lord. And through it all, my eyes are on you, and it is well with me.
Wow, what an incredible, powerful and heart-wrenching conversation. I know I definitely had a few tears in my eyes. Thank you so much, John and Trix. And I've loved seeing the wonderful, your beautiful comments coming through, just encouraging you guys. And we just say a big thank you for opening up and sharing about your grief and some of the loss that you have faced in your life. So thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it. Wow. And I don't know, I just encourage you guys to think about think about the conversation. And I think an overarching theme was to talk about your grief and your loss and what you're going through with someone or with a few people, but to make sure that they're close people, not people who are gonna blab about it to everyone, but people that you trust, that are close to you, to have those conversations. So maybe this week, think about who you can have a conversation with and who you can share some of your story with, or maybe even think about who you can listen to. Like, who could you be that friend that someone opens up to? And also, I loved what Trix said about finding the positive things and always being thankful for something. And I think we all have something that we can be thankful for. So I just want to encourage you guys with that, to talk to someone and to be thankful this week. And I also just want to remind you that, if that conversation stirred something for you, if it's bringing up emotions or memories of something, I don't know, just make sure that you get in contact with someone, whether that's someone here at church during the week, or whether it's a close friend, or whether it's maybe seeking professional help as well. But just make sure that you get in contact with someone if that has stirred up something in your life. All right, I'm going to pray, and then we're going to finish up. So, Father, we thank you. Thank you for Pastor John and for Trix. We thank you for their vulnerability and for them being willing to open up, and talk about their grief and their loss, Lord. And I just pray that you would bless them, and I just thank you for what they said. And I just pray that that it would continue to touch our hearts during this week, and that we would think about it, and that we would talk to people this week, that we would come to you as well, and that we would that we would just share what we're going through with people, and that we would find ways to be thankful to you, Lord. We love you and we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. It's been wonderful having you on the live stream with us. And next week, we're going to be here in the Rock Building. So make sure you come here. It's 9:30 for prayer meeting, and then the service starts at 10:30. So, make sure you come, guys. It's going to be a heap of fun. Bring a friend. And so we'll see you next time. Bye.